Crown Prince Christian of Denmark stood poised with a blend of nervous anticipation and regal composure as he prepared to step into one of the most consequential roles of his young life. Under the warm, watchful eyes of his parents King Frederik and Queen Mary, this remarkable moment was not just a family milestone but a historic juncture for the Danish monarchy itself. Denmark's royal watchers and international media had gathered with an almost electric energy at Christiansborg Palace, their cameras clicking in fervent bursts trying to capture every subtle expression on the faces of this beloved royal family. Christian's appointment to the Danish State Council was more than ceremonial pageantry. It was a powerful testament to the monarchy's enduring commitment to Denmark's constitutional fabric and to the careful grooming of the next generation of royal leadership. As the grand chambers of Christiansborg buzzed with dignitaries and courtiers, King Frederik, wearing a discreet yet unmistakable grin, could hardly contain his fatherly pride. His eyes often darted toward his son with subtle nods of encouragement, as if transmitting quiet reassurances across the marble hall. Meanwhile, Queen Mary, radiant in a tailored soft blue ensemble that delicately highlighted her still youthful grace, seemed to breathe in every nuance of the occasion, clutching her hands together as Christian approached the council table. There was something intensely moving in the way Mary's gaze glistened, a mother's tender awe mixed with the deep responsibility she shared with Frederik to raise a future king worthy of Denmark's trust. At just 20, Crown Prince Christian was stepping onto a stage few ever reach in their entire lifetimes. Taking his seat on the State Council meant he was now officially entrusted with the constitutional duties of a regent. Should circumstances ever require, he could be called to sign acts of law on behalf of the monarch. This was a moment when tradition met youthful promise, underpinned by centuries of Danish royal protocol. The gravity of it all was evident in Christian's slightly tightened jaw, the determined set of his shoulders, and the subtle inhale as he reached for the pen that would mark his formal entry into the heart of Danish governance. Outside, crowds gathered behind barriers festooned with Danish flags, their voices rising in hopeful cheers each time the great wooden doors shifted to reveal glimpses of the proceedings. Elder Danes spoke in hushed reverence about having seen King Frederik once take these very steps, while younger onlookers clutched smartphones high in the air, eager to broadcast live to the world a piece of history unfolding before their eyes. For them, this was not just the evolution of an institution, it was an emotional story about family, duty, and national pride. Inside the council room, the atmosphere was dense with tradition. Historic portraits of past monarchs seemed almost to lean closer from their gilded frames, as if nodding in solemn approval at the young prince who would someday be immortalized among them. Christian's pen scratched across the registry with a firm, deliberate motion, committing himself irrevocably to the burdens and privileges of the Danish crown. A ripple of subdued applause coursed through the chamber. King Frederik's hand fell upon Christian's shoulder in a quiet gesture that said far more than any royal speech could convey. Queen Mary dabbed discreetly at the corner of her eye, her emotions dancing right on the edge of tears and elation. What made this moment resonate so profoundly was not merely the legal formality but the way it encapsulated the unique Danish approach to monarchy, understated yet deeply meaningful, richly traditional yet gracefully modern. As cameras continued to flash, Christian rose and executed a courteous nod to the assembled council members, many of whom had served under his grandmother Queen Margrethe and watched his own father grow into the role he now occupies. Their approving smiles seemed to welcome Christian not just as a youthful figurehead but as a partner in the solemn stewardship of the Danish realm. And it was clear that King Frederik and Queen Mary had done their utmost to prepare him for this destiny. Observers who have followed the Danish royals for years noted how Frederik's own journey from the athletic, somewhat hesitant prince of the 1990s to today's thoughtful monarch offered Christian both a template and an inspiration. Likewise, Queen Mary's emphasis on charitable engagement, mental health awareness, and elegant public poise provided their son with invaluable lessons on blending empathy with duty. This day was therefore not only Christian's but theirs as a family, a living testament to decades of carefully nurtured values. Following the solemn formalities, the royal family moved to a smaller reception where toasts were raised and well-wishers offered warm words. Christian's siblings, Princess Isabella, Prince Vincent, and Princess Josephine, hovered nearby, each beaming with admiration. Princess Isabella in particular, nearly as tall as her brother now, laughed easily at his quietly self-deprecating comments about the weight of the state on his shoulders, their sibling bond shining through the royal polish. It was these tender exchanges that reminded everyone present that behind the constitutional significance lay a family that loved, teased, and supported one another with genuine warmth. Meanwhile, outside in the courtyard, children perched atop their parents' shoulders waved small flags and craned their necks for a glimpse of the young prince who might one day reign over them. Elderly Danes stood arm in arm, some with tears streaking down lined cheeks, murmuring about how they had once witnessed Queen Margrethe's own milestones at similar ages. The sense of national continuity was almost palpable, a golden thread connecting generations of Danes through these shared royal moments. Later in the afternoon, King Frederik and Queen Mary joined Christian for a brief appearance on the palace balcony. The crowd's roar was immediate and thunderous, echoing off the stately facades of Copenhagen's historic buildings. Christian waved with a shy but genuine smile, the type that only served to endear him further to the people. His mother leaned in slightly, whispering something that made Christian's expression soften into an affectionate grin before he nodded almost imperceptibly. King Frederik's hand rested protectively at Christian's back, a subtle reminder that while this day marked a significant transfer of responsibility, it did not sever the profound paternal guidance still at work. Political analysts quickly chimed in on Danish broadcasts, highlighting how this move was more than symbolic. In an age where monarchies across Europe constantly adapt to justify their relevance, involving Crown Prince Christian directly in the machinery of state was a proactive gesture. It underscored Denmark's confidence in its constitutional monarchy and the belief that the future king should not only be seen but truly prepared. Christian's accession to the State Council guaranteed that if Denmark ever needed him to step in, he would do so with first-hand experience, not merely inherited expectation. Social media, ever hungry for royal stories, erupted with supportive hashtags and heartfelt posts. Fans from around the world praised how naturally Christian seemed to carry the dignity of his role while still projecting an approachable humanity. Memes, featuring Christian nervously gripping his pen next to King Frederik's amused, paternal expression flooded timelines, a playful testament to how the royal family's authenticity continued to capture hearts globally. As the evening fell over Copenhagen, warm lights began to glow across the palace grounds. Inside, a more private family dinner was underway. Reports from palace insiders described a relaxed atmosphere where laughter was plentiful and speeches were tender, reflecting on how Christian had grown from a curious little boy clambering over palace furniture to a young man now signing state papers. Queen Mary was said to have offered a short, emotional toast that brought tears to more than a few eyes, even, it seemed, to her own. Royal watchers expect this will be just the first of many steps in Christian's public evolution. With his future engagement to civic duties, charitable patronages, and international representation almost certainly on the horizon, Denmark's royal story looks set to be both stable and refreshingly dynamic. King Frederik and Queen Mary appear determined to support their son's modern education while also instilling in him the time-honored virtues that have defined Denmark's monarchy for centuries: humility, service, and steadfast love for their people. As for Crown Prince Christian, this milestone has undoubtedly marked the beginning of a profound chapter. While his youthful charm remains intact, today he has clearly crossed a threshold, one where Denmark will look to him not just as the monarch to be but as an integral guardian of its democratic and cultural legacy. The pride radiating from King Frederik and Queen Mary on this day was not only for their son's personal achievement but for the secure future he represents for all Danes. Now we turn to you, our incredible viewers. Having witnessed this deeply touching royal moment together, how do you feel about Crown Prince Christian stepping into such a historic responsibility? Do you believe he is ready to guide Denmark's future when the time comes? Let us know in the comments, and remember to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a heartbeat of Europe's royal stories. Your engagement helps keep these cherished traditions alive in our global conversation. As the soft hum of conversations and the gentle clinking of glassware resonated through the intimate royal dining room, Crown Prince Christian sat slightly more relaxed now, his broad shoulders easing after a day laden with ceremonial weight. King Frederik leaned back, his laughter echoing lightly after a discreet joke from Prince Vincent, while Queen Mary reached across to straighten a tiny out-of-place fold in Christian's cuff. These were small, unguarded glimpses of family life that so rarely escape the gilded walls of royal existence, reminding everyone that behind the titles and protocols lay a tightly woven circle of love and ordinary parental pride. At one point, Princess Isabella playfully nudged Christian's arm, prompting a grin that momentarily stripped away the royal veneer and revealed a young man not far removed from countless older brothers who tease and joke with their siblings across Denmark. The youngest of the family, Princess Josephine, beamed up at her elder brother with bright, unrestrained admiration, whispering something that made Christian's smile soften, his eyes sparkling with a promise of gentle protection. For a few tender beats of time, it was not the heir to a centuries-old throne seated there, but simply a big brother sharing a warm dinner at home. Yet the weight of the day inevitably returned in small, poignant waves. Throughout the dinner, loyal aides would occasionally step in with discreet updates or documents requiring the king's quick review. Each time, Christian's eyes followed these exchanges with new gravity, an unspoken realization settling ever deeper that one day, perhaps sooner than anyone might predict, he would be the one answering such matters on behalf of Denmark. Watching his father's calm efficiency, the way King Frederik signed papers or listened attentively before nodding decisive instructions, provided an invaluable living lesson more profound than any tutor's classroom could offer. It was also clear that Queen Mary understood just how layered this transition would be for her eldest son. In brief moments when Christian looked her way, her returning glances conveyed oceans of reassurance, tiny telegraphs of encouragement meant only for him. She had once been the outsider, an Australian navigating the maze of Danish traditions, learning a language so different from her own, adapting to centuries of royal expectation, and in that experience lay a wellspring of empathy for the immense expectations Christian now faced. Perhaps it was that shared, almost unspoken understanding of adaptation and transformation that bonded mother and son so visibly on this day. Later that evening, after most of the courtiers had withdrawn and the echoes of formal celebration faded into a gentle hush, King Frederik and Queen Mary led Christian on a quiet walk through a dimly lit gallery adjoining the palace's private quarters. The room, steeped in soft amber light, was lined with portraits of monarchs stretching back through the ages. As they moved past each painting, King Christian IX with his distinguished silver beard, King Frederik IX with his stern naval posture, Queen Margrethe's vibrant artistic likeness, Christian's gaze lingered, perhaps trying to measure himself against the long shadows of history. His father paused beneath a large portrait of his own younger self, painted not long after he took his own seat on the State Council. Resting a steady hand on Christian's shoulder, King Frederik quietly shared a few low words. Whatever was said, it drew a deep, thoughtful nod from the young prince. Observers close enough to catch the fleeting moment later described it as the very heartbeat of monarchy, one generation preparing the next, not through grandeur, but through intimate counsel passed down in hushed, sacred trust. Outside the palace that night, Copenhagen was alive with quiet revelry. Cafes along Nyhavn brimmed with locals raising glasses in casual tribute, toasting not only their crown prince but the continuity of a national story that stretched long before them and would, if all held true, stretch long after. Lanterns bobbed gently on the canal waters, their reflections like tiny drifting crowns of light. Farther down winding streets, families paused by shop windows playing live television recaps of the day's events. Children pointed excitedly at scenes of Christian signing the historic registry, while elderly couples squeezed each other's hands with a nostalgia born of having seen many royal moments come and go. It seemed that across every cobblestone and under every slate roof of Denmark's capital, the story of this young prince was finding a home in countless hearts. Royal analysts across Europe were quick to comment on the deft balance Denmark was striking, modern enough to allow its young royals authentic personalities, yet steeped enough in tradition to preserve the dignity of ancient customs. In a world where several monarchies have faced republican calls or struggled to justify their relevance, Denmark's approach offered a kind of case study in gentle evolution. The Danish people were not demanding their monarchy justify itself through extravagant gestures or constant reinvention. Rather, they appeared to cherish the quiet assurance that their royals grew up with them, understood them, and carried their hopes with a tender, personal familiarity. Crown Prince Christian's understated poise throughout the ceremonies also resonated with other European courts. Informal communications from Swedish and Norwegian royal circles suggested they watched Denmark's unfolding royal chapter with keen interest, seeing parallels with their own future heirs. Even in Britain, where the Windsor family remains under an unrelenting media microscope, there was cautious admiration for the way Denmark managed to blend solemn constitutional milestones with genuine family warmth. It seemed that for a brief window in time, Copenhagen had become not just a capital of Denmark but a quiet capital of European royalty itself. As the night deepened, palace staff arranged for a last, private gathering in one of the smaller salons, a room lined with delicate floral tapestries and low, inviting armchairs. Here, King Frederik reportedly spoke candidly to Christian about the invisible burdens that would follow his signature on the State Council register. While the king's voice was soft, those who lingered just beyond the doors later recounted that there was unmistakable firmness beneath the paternal affection. It was a lesson gently delivered but ironclad in its truth, that leadership, especially one crowned by centuries of history, demanded sacrifice, resilience, and a capacity for solitude that few outside royal life could fully grasp. Queen Mary, meanwhile, spoke of the people. Her words centered on compassion, on understanding lives vastly different from his own, on being present at hospitals, schools, and quiet rural towns where the monarchy's handshake still carried profound personal meaning. Her message was simple but powerful, that no matter how grand the ceremony or heavy the crown, it was the trust of ordinary Danes that made it all real. Christian listened, not with the distracted half-interest of a youth accustomed to polite nods, but with an intense, almost hungry focus, his eyes moving between his parents, absorbing every nuance. Eventually, laughter returned, lighter subjects re-emerged, and the family drifted into more casual conversation. Someone teased Christian about the official stiffness he'd maintained under the media's gaze earlier that day, prompting a good-natured groan and a promise to work on it. For a moment the weight of monarchy lifted, and they were simply a family once again, a father and mother guiding their son toward an extraordinary future, siblings snickering over private jokes, the long line of royal portraits on the walls almost smiling down in benevolent approval. Outside, as the final carriages departed and the last of the guests bid their fond farewells, Copenhagen's streets settled into a peaceful hush. The Danish flags that had rippled so vigorously through the day now hung softly in the calm night air, as if themselves weary from witnessing history. Somewhere in the city, perhaps by candlelight in an old apartment above a quiet square, a family might still be talking about the young prince, about how grown he seemed, about how lucky Denmark was to have this gentle transition of power unfolding not through crisis but through celebration. So here we arrive at the quiet yet powerful conclusion of this extraordinary day. A day where Denmark did not simply watch a young man sign a document, but rather saw the living promise of its history carried forward with care and hope. Where King Frederik and Queen Mary, through proud smiles and tender words, began the subtle passing of a torch whose flame has illuminated Danish hearts for over 1,000 years. Where Crown Prince Christian, through steady hands and earnest eyes, showed not only that he understands the duty awaiting him but that he will carry it with humility and grace. And now, dear viewers, after journeying through this breathtaking tapestry of royal devotion, family bonds, and national pride together, we turn it over to you. How does seeing Crown Prince Christian step so confidently into Denmark's future make you feel about the strength of the monarchy and the enduring spirit of the Danish people? Could this be the perfect example of how tradition and modern humanity can walk hand in hand? Tell us all your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another heartbeat of Europe's most captivating royal stories. Your voice is what keeps this royal journey alive for us all.